Hi there, I'm Shane Spears and welcome to another edition of Summit Scale, beaming out to you from the beautiful city of Bath in the UK. My guest today is Bill Caskey. Bill, a very warm welcome. Great to have you on the show.
Shane, thanks for allowing me to come in. I'm so sorry I missed the last one. Just to be honest with you, to full disclosure, I overslept on our last assignment. So I'm glad to be here today. So thank you.
No problem. Great to have you here. For those of you that don't know him, Bill is a podcaster, author and coach and has worked with over 200 companies in the last 30 years, helping them scale their sales results. This is going to be good. Bill, the title of our interview today is Scaling Your Sales Results. If you're ready, I'll set the clock.
Fire away, brother.
So what is one perspective that most CEOs fail to understand?
Yeah, I think it's one coin that has two sides to it. One is vision. We've talked about vision for how many years now? I mean, I know you talk about it in your businesses. Where do you want to go? What do you want for your business? What does the future look like? And it doesn't have to be a 30-year out vision. Heck, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing next week a lot of times, but it does need to have some kind of pointer, some kind of direction to it. And I find that if you're a CEO and you go around and ask your top 10 people, where do you think our vision is taking us? And if they don't have an answer, then you haven't done your job. Because as a CEO, entrepreneur, whatever, even if you're a VP of a department, you still have to have a departmental vision. Where are we going? And it helps people bring their A game to the table every day.
Yeah. And it helps people decide whether they want to go with you as well.
Exactly.
And what are the mistakes sales vice presidents and CEOs make when maximizing their revenue results?
Yeah, too much. That's the easy one for me. Too much focus on outputs, not enough focus on inputs. And the outputs are the revenue numbers, the forecast. What'd you bring in this month? We spend so little time focused on the inputs that get us to that number. And I'm not just talking about number of calls or number of proposals. That's kind of 80s stuff, I think. The question is how are we coaching and training our team to be stronger in front of prospects, to be better messengers, to be better communicators of the message? Are we asking our team to write their own goals down and to envision what they want from their territories or from their business? And so there's a whole list of inputs, but I think we spend way too much time trying to control outputs when really we can't control the outputs. It's too late to control the outputs. So I think sales VPs need to spend a whole lot more time on inputs. What's the formula for success rather than what are the terms of success?
Yeah, I refer to kind of lead indicators and lag indicators.
Yeah,
exactly that. Exactly. And what are 3 tips you can give leaders to make progress in scaling the business?
Well, I think tip number 1 is to be funnel-minded. And funnel-minded to me means the sales leader of today can't just be a monitor of behavior. What are my people doing? Where are they? What are they calling on? Who are they calling on? How many calls are they making? The sales leader of today has to be a marketing expert and guru too. They have to understand how people go from obscurity to wanting to talk with you, to wanting to do business with you, to wanting to refer you. There's a whole sequence of events.
Yeah.
And I don't think sales leaders spend enough time understanding the marketing funnel. How do we get people to even want to have a conversation with us? Because this whole knock on doors and cold calls, you see my prop there?
Yeah.
The whole thing is it's so antiquated. You still need to do a little bit of that. I'm okay with it, but it can't be the core part of it. And I think the second thing they need to do is preach generosity. I think that we clutch our value and we latch onto it and we say, well, you can't get my value unless you pay for it. And today you just can't have that attitude. You've got to be willing to be generous and say, hey, if you're a benefits guy, talk about a benefits tip. Give people advice. Give them some free stuff. You're not going to give them everything you do, but be generous with your value. And when you are, people come back to you and they reciprocate and they say, you know what, I saw that video on YouTube. I have this happen all the time. I saw that video on YouTube. Come in and talk to me about our sales team.
Yeah.
So they need to understand generosity as well as that funnel perspective.
Right. And what skills do salespeople need to have today that are different than the past?
That's a really profound notion. I think salespeople today have to be exquisite communicators. They've got to be really good at speaking, really good at presenting, really good at crafting messages, so that, because people don't have time to figure out your message if it's too disjointed. If you just put a whole puzzle down on the paper and say, or on the table, and say to the prospect, "Oh, here's what I do, all these puzzle pieces, you figure it out." They're not going to figure it out. They're going to say, "Thanks so much, see you later," and they'll be nice to you, but they'll get rid of you.
Yeah.
So I think the skill of the present and of the future, and it could transcend just personal communication. It could be video, it could be written communication. I think we've got to get a lot better at communicating, because as the stakes get higher and as the noise gets louder in the context in which we're communicating, we just have to be that much better at it. And we're not, frankly.
Yeah.
We're very bad at that in this country. We're awful at it.
Clarity and cut through. And finally, what books or content would you recommend in this area?
Yeah, well, as an author, you always recommend your book first, so I'll plug that. Same Game, New Rules is a book I wrote a few years ago, but it talks about how the game of sales is the same, but the rules are changing. And I love the classic As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. It's 1902. I read it a couple times a year. It's a little 30-page booklet. You can buy it on Amazon for $5, and I think it's a life changer, because he really talks in there about how we can change our circumstances by changing how we think. And if you get that, man, the world is your oyster in a terrible, I never did like that metaphor, but I just used it. Yeah. But you can accomplish anything if you can get your mind right about it. And this idea that somebody else is to blame for our circumstances, we have a lot of that in this country right now. We're all victims. We're all playing the oppressed victims. And we're not. We are strong, free people. But we have to realize that our minds will help us get to where we want to go, and sometimes we just don't. So that's a good book for me.
Good. Bill, that's brilliant. Sadly, we've come to the end of our time. Folks, for more resources, check out Bill's website, www.billcaskey.com, and the link will be below the video and podcast. Bill, really appreciate it. Feel like a real kindred spirit. And
that's right, Shane.
Thank you for your time. Thanks for checking out our Summit Scale podcast. If you like what we're doing here, please head over to iTunes and subscribe, rate us and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. And if you want to learn more about the work we do, or are looking for a load of free resources to help with scaling your business, check out our website, www.summitleader.com.